Well, hello again, Steve here, and today is one of those beautiful days after the storm. We had a massive storm last night, and usually in these parts after a storm it's calm, so I can talk out here in the down by the river without the wind whistling through. Anyways, today I wanted to talk about a topic that I have brought up before a few times, and which usually gets about two views. I suppose if I was somebody else, I could sell my bathwater and so on and get more views. But unfortunately, well, maybe fortunately, I'm not interested in that. And secondly, the two of you who are viewing this, congratulations and welcome to the conversation. Yeah, so I brought this up before, and I think it's worth bringing up again because I think that the whole point of these conversations is quality of life, and that is long-term quality of life. And the more honest we can be, the more aspects of ourselves we can bring into what it is that we're doing in life, I think the better off we can be in the long run. Thinking long term, that is. I mean, sure, we can titillate ourselves for the short term, but that usually has a cost, right? You know, take what we want and pay for it. We pay for it down the road with maybe poorer qualities of life and regret for what we've done. So more and more, even though it's not rational, no, it is rational actually, but to identify what that is not rational. I'm talking specifically about what most people would term God, or that which creates us, right? It's not rational on the face of it, but it's rational in terms of this, right? We are created, and therefore there must be creative power at play, right? Yes, our mom and dad were up to something one night in a moment of passion, true, but what created all that, right? We didn't create ourselves in terms of the systems that run the neurology, the biology, the emotionality, the mentality, all of that we didn't create. We could say, okay, it's evolution. Okay, well then, let's talk about that. I don't care what somebody, well, I sort of do, but I mean, it doesn't really matter in the end. Because what I'm talking about is the grand scheme of things, what it is that creates us. I'm not going to get into the minutiae of defining that, because that would be kind of, from my perspective at this point, rather pointless. The point being the honoring of that which creates us and the giving thanks to that. And I think that's a truer sense of ourselves. You see, because so often we delve into what we created and we get ourselves into all kinds of trouble then, I think. So this is along the lines of business, because I like to, in these conversations, I think it's good to recognize the pragmatics and the practicality of what's being talked about. And business, when I say business, it's what we do for a livelihood, what we do on our daily basis. That gives us that labor of love, right? So do we bring our concepts of that which creates us into that? Because some people say, oh, Steve, just leave your gods and your ideas, your religion and so on, leave that to your private life. Well, sure, fair enough, but how do we separate ourselves from our livelihood? I'd like to get somebody to explain that to me. I haven't been able to, right? Because everywhere I go, there I am, So therefore, the concepts that I have in one aspect of my life have to apply in other aspects of my life, because there I am, in terms of the greater scheme of things, right? So I guess the suggestion here is for myself, and for those who would care to try it on for size, is to look more at what it is that we are fundamentally, rather than what we create. So for an example, right, people I know would say that if you ask them what they are, they'll say, well, I am an American, I am a German, I am a Canadian, whatever it is. See, that's a construct in a way. Well, it's not necessarily a construct. A German could be genetically German, whatever, but say American or some other kind of imperial concept, Canadian or whatever. There's no genetics that say what Canadian is. No, there's none whatsoever. I mean, there's people who've been here a long time. Some people call them First Nations, but they're not Canadians, and they pre-existed Canada, so they're not Canadians. So the point is, what we are is we are ourselves, which came from that which created us. So the Canadian concept or the American concept is looking downstream. Or I am a business owner, I am the owner of such and such. Whenever we say I am, we're creating something. I mean, usually, right? But if we say I am man, that's not we're creating something. I mean, it's using a word, yes, but we didn't create man, right? And of course, wrapped up in man, or man is wrapped up in that which creates man. And I think there's a power in that. There's a power in it because it's honesty, and honesty, the truth shall set us free, right? There's an honesty to it. And another, just a little anecdote, of course, doesn't really mean anything, but it's happened to me a number of times in my life where I find that I need help, but I can't find help in the so-called world, in things that I created or tools that I have or books that I have or anything like that. So in cases like that, I genuinely appeal to that which I do not know completely, that which creates me. And there's an amazing power to that. First of all, there's a solace in it. There's a sense. It's like a feeling, right? It's a lot of times our quality of life is based on our feelings. I think mostly is what it is. Whether we're happy or we're sad is a state, right? We could be sitting on the same chair, happy or sad. One's more quality, one's not. One's hopeful, one's despair. I mean, that's a quality of life. So sometimes just getting sort of a more shiny feeling going on inside of ourselves has its benefits as well. And the appeal to that which is grander than us is sort of it might just be a mental trick, I don't know, but it certainly works, and therefore, hey, why not? But I think it's more than a mental trick because we can use our sense of reason to realize that there is creation, right? We are created, and therefore there's creative power. So so we can appeal to that maybe. And the other thing too is maybe it's just there's something about when we finally appeal, when we finally ask for help, we're willing to do what it takes. And there's some power to that as well. So for example, once in a while, very often I'm very busy with what I do, handyman work and so on. Other times, not so much. And other times when things are not working as they used to work in terms of reaching out to people, or people are out of, the economy changes or whatever, then I have to try something different. And of course, when I'm, just human nature, when I'm going along and everything's really busy, I'm not appealing to creative powers. I got enough trying to maintain my own sanity to keep up with the workload, right? But then there's times when the work dries up. So then I have to start looking at other ways. So I start to appeal to this sort of a higher sense, higher self, you might call it. I don't even like to call it self, actually, just creative power. And a little example here, of, like a week ago or so, I was kind of at my wit's end because what I used to do in terms of marketing, what it is that I do wasn't working. It had dried up completely, and I didn't know what to do. So I said, okay, I'm just going to go down to a temporary labor sort of hall and just put my name down. Hey, whatever comes up. And these are just like cleanup jobs. I'll do whatever it takes. I don't care. And I'd rather be doing something than nothing. Just, less than minimum wage kind of thing. And I'm in there and waiting, and I've done this, I think, twice in my life, and never have I gotten anything out of it, because it seems like when I'm at the bottom of the barrel, so is everybody else. So anyways, I'm in there, and I start to appeal in a genuine reverie kind of thing to this higher power, right? To the creative power. And yeah, once again, anecdotes mean nothing really, but I mean, this hadn't happened in a while. My phone rang. And it was somebody who from out of town who wanted me to go immediately to do this job, and it was like really good pay. It was like more pay than I ever get. And over the course of the next week, I got like just a huge amount of work. I worked one day, all day, and then all night. You know, it's like, it was amazing. And then I got a call from another person, like the same day. Hey, can you come down and fix my deck? Rebuild my deck, kind of thing. And then before I was even finished those jobs, another guy calls me, who I'd worked with done jobs for years, but his projects were kind of ended up, and he says, hey, can you come down and do a bunch of work here? You know, I got weeks of work for you, kind of thing. And yeah, it's just a story, of course. It doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't mean that it's true or anything, but it just makes me wonder sometimes, that's all. So I guess the final analysis on this is it worthwhile bringing our concept of higher self into what it is that we do? I say it is because I think it's a more genuine aspect of ourselves, right? Because if we're always looking down to our diplomas and our status and our legal status, that's all stuff we created. That's an abridged self in a way. But whereas if we look back to ourselves, a true self-knowledge and concepts of what it is that create us, that work for us, right? That work for us, that's true for us. True for us based at least partly on our sense of reason. Then I think we can be empowered. We can be empowered because I think we're being more honest about what we really are. And in the long run, I think that'll help our quality of life. Steve here, doing great chatting. If you like what I'm doing, please like, subscribe, and share. And we'll talk again soon. Bye for now.